I wanted to kind of familiarize, our listeners about the stats on cancer, young adult cancer, which is really prevalent, and you really kind of define the odds and beat that, along with your mom was fighting cancer. So I think if you could tell us a little bit about that, how it really changed your life and how it changed your perspective on your life choices, healthy lifestyle living, I guess, if you will.
Yeah, absolutely. So I grew up, my mom, our family just was always, I'd say on the scale of healthy, we were definitely a healthy, health conscious family. There was always salad on the dinner table. My mom never allowed soda in the house. It was about real food, growing. My mom went to Berkeley for college. She definitely had kind of a hippie in her. And my dad had a farm at one point. And so both my parents were just very kind of real food and as natural as possible. So I grew up that way. But of course, I was a normal kid too, and teenager. I snacked, I ate whatever other people were eating sometimes. You're not really taught nutrition by anyone.
Yeah.
And so I became a yoga instructor before I went to college as well. So out of all my friends, I was definitely kind of the
The
more
healthy one.
healthier granola one on top of it all. Went to college, went to USC for college in LA, had a great time, graduated, 22 years old, felt like I was on top of the world. You graduate college and now you're like, oh my God, I'm so excited to be an adult and get a real job and, not live in a dorm and, not live on campus and, just really become an adult. And so a couple months after I graduated, I went home from LA back to New York. I was going to spend the summer with my mom and my sister and then actually move back to LA because that's where I wanted to live for a little bit and, try it out. And my mom was diagnosed with CLL, which is a chronic leukemia, when I was 13, probably years old. And she fought it for a long time. She fought it for like almost 12 years. And there's a kind of fast growing leukemia and there's a kind of a slow, and she had more of the acute kind of faster. And so we were in New York City. She went to Sloan Kettering. She had the best doctors. And she did different rounds of chemo throughout those 12 years. Like I remember going to college and me and my brother and sister all came home and spent a week at home and kind of missed some school just to be with her when she had kind of her first chemo treatment to make sure she was okay. Because again, my parents were divorced. So she was really alone going through this. And so all that to say is that she just was such a fighter. She never lost all of her hair. She looked really strong and healthy. So from the outside, most people had no idea. And she definitely didn't complain about it. She worked as much as she could every day. She kept busy. And she really never complained about it. She'd always stay positive. We'll figure it out. I have the best doctors. Some things in life you can't control. So unfortunately, she ended up passing away from it. We did a stem cell transplant to even try to cure her because after kind of chemo didn't work after kind of the third attempt. So just at a young age, from the age of kind of 14 to she passed away when I was 26, I just was exposed to hospitals and seeing someone fight as hard as they could and having, access to the best doctors and still there isn't a guarantee, And so what's crazy is in the middle of that, when I was 22, I was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma. There isn't really a genetic link between them. It's kind of a crazy, they haven't figured that out. And Hodgkin's lymphoma is found in kind of younger. It's, there are some cases in older, 65 and above or 55 and above, but it really hits kind of young, 15 to 30. And so 22 years old, the last thing I was thinking was that I could possibly be sick. So I woke up one morning, the lymph nodes in my neck were really swollen. out of nowhere. It definitely felt weird, but I had no other symptoms. My mom took me to her doctor, who was an oncologist, because I was done with my pediatrician. Like I was 22. I
You were
just
in that, like, yeah.
that weird zone where I was going to find a new doctor when I moved back to LA in a month. And so, her doctor was a cancer specialist. So he looked at me and he was like, you either have nothing at all, or this is Hodgkin's lymphoma, because that, young people can get that. And nothing showed up in my blood work. So they had to do a biopsy, and all of a sudden it just took like a month of testing. And I was supposed to be back in LA and everything just got rearranged. And I was diagnosed with stage 2 Hodgkin's lymphoma. I had to go through 6 months of chemo, and, it forever changed me. And the first couple of months, and I was living at home with my mom, who again, was kind of going through her own battle, but trying to take care of me. And, the biggest learnings of all of it is like, thank God there's a cure, and thank God I am healthy now. And once I got through that, I just really like vowed to myself that like I was going to just every single day live at 100%, because nothing is promised, and I just saw that so firsthand. And I just wanted to live a life where I was as happy as possible every day, like feeling my best. And that way I just wouldn't have regrets. And also I just saw how incredibly important health is, and there's a lot, I think at a young age, you feel very invincible and you feel like nothing could potentially happen to you. And I just started to see firsthand how much better I felt mentally and physically when I started to eat like more real, less processed foods. And so for the first couple of months when I went through treatment, I was super depressed. Like I've always been a happy person. And for the first time in my life, I was like really down and out and really sad. And I just was like, am I ever going to be happy again? Am I ever going to feel healthy? Am I ever going to get fit and strong again? Like all these just worries. Like, am I going to survive? And am I ever going to be able to have children? Like just, really scared. And then after those first 2 months, something just like, my brain just switched on, and I was like, I am so done feeling sad. Like I'm not going to let this, cripple me. Like I'm going to turn this around. I'm going to do everything I can to get through this and thrive on the other side. And that's it. I'm going to get through it. Like, that's it. That's just what's happening. And I'm going to 100% focus my brain on it. And so because I wasn't working, and I had days off from chemo and doctors, I was like, I'm going to take cooking classes on those days, and I'm going to study nutrition, and I'm going to keep me as healthy and strong as possible so I can get through this and thrive on the other side. And my doctor didn't talk about food or nutrition. So I just was like, so going with my instincts of just like, what is in my control? Like the food that we eat is kind of the only other thing I can control right now, besides like meditation and just kind of calming my nerves and connecting with my, and working out as much as possible. But I definitely, I used to run track in high school. I definitely couldn't run the way I used to. I like it was
your body needed to heal, right? So, I mean, you can only do so much.
Gentle, like it was gentle working out, but I still pushed myself as much as possible to like get blood flowing and to get, as many good dopamine and kind of happy cells going on inside my brain. And so I started studying nutrition, cut out anything processed, anything refined, really got serious about the oils I was using, the type of flours. And this is like a whole new world to me, because the way I grew up, I mean, it was just like, there's canola oil in your pantry that's you've had for 2 years. There's white flour. That's the only type of flour that exists. There's, kind of, just
it's sugar, white flour, butter, milk. Like it's very, I mean, I grew up
like corn syrup, whatever the recipe calls for. And I was like, no way. Like I never want corn syrup. I never want white flour anymore. I want whole grain, unprocessed flours. I want healthier oils that are healthy for you. All that kind of thinking, just in and even like the chocolate. Like I don't want these chocolate chips that have like, dextrose or soy lecithin or just like so many ingredients. Like, how do I just keep it cleaner and cleaner? So kind of became obsessed, because I started to become a really good cook making salads and my meals, but I have a huge sweet tooth. and I love chocolate. And I just was like, I don't want to give that up. I don't want to be in a diet and feel
Mm-hmm.
deprived for the rest of my life to lead a healthy life. Like, I think part of living a healthy life is like having whatever you want and like listening to your
Mm-hmm.
body and like whatever it's craving, like giving it to it and nourishing yourself and celebrating life. And like, and I don't know anyone who's happy on a strict diet all the time. I just
Yeah,
like think
no one.
I want to, and
I,
also what guarantee is that, right? Like
yeah.
that you'll never get any illness. Like, so I just was like, there has to be a way to make sweets and treats, baked goods better for you. So you feel good eating it, like physically, mentally, it doesn't give you such a high sugar crash. And it can really be part of like a healthy, balanced lifestyle. And so I started to make my own recipes. I have a huge sweet tooth. I love cookie dough. I think warm cookies, like a warm chocolate chip cookie, is probably like the best thing in the
Mm-hmm.
world. So I just wanted to recreate like the famous chocolate chip cookie recipe, but make it cleaner. And after hundreds and hundreds of batches, my sister started to fall in love with it. Neighbors loved it. Friends loved it. And that's when it went from being like, this is a personal need to like, holy shit, like
Mm-hmm.
everyone I meet is excited and looking for a better way to satisfy their sweet tooth. And everyone I meet like has a sweet tooth, but doesn't want something overly sweet or that's going to give them a headache or make them feel bad. Like, how do I solve that problem?